So last session we just got introduced to what are recursions, and so we know like when a method calls itself, we call that particular method as a recursive method. Excuse me. Recursive method, and the process is called recursion. Okay, and the main requirement for recursive methods is there should be an if statement which forces the method to return without calling the the recursive call to the same method. Okay, and we saw. Give me a second. Give me a second. Okay, excuse me. We saw an example of factorial to find the factorial of a number. That is the formula we have, right? N factorial is nothing but n into n minus 1, n minus 2, up to 1, right? We saw that formula, and give a second. So here is the logic that is being implemented here. That is being implemented. So what the factorial of 1 is 1 only, as mentioned here, and for any other things, this particular statement gets executed. In this, this is the method that calls itself, that is done here. And what it does is, every time when we pass an integer, we call the same method with n minus 1, where n is the integer that is being passed. So we also saw how this recursive method works, right? So for example, even when n is equal to 1, the result is 1. Okay, when n is equal to 2, what happens? It is 2 into factorial of 2 minus 1, which is 1. So the result will be 2 into 1. For n is equal to 3, it will be like 3 into fact of 3 minus 1. Okay, so this in turn calls 3 into 2 into fact of 2 minus 1. So when this will become 1, because fact of 1 is 1, which we are returning here, and then 2 into 3, so is equal to 6. This is how the recursive method, this particular recursive method works. So we try to understand this, and hopefully all of you understood this particular concept. So if you have any questions regarding this one, please let me know. I'll try to clarify it before proceeding further with access controls. Okay. So as we discussed, this particular recursive process, right? Recursive methods will use in multiple fields like artificial intelligence, searching, sorting, and there may be many other fields which where this particular recursive methods will be used. Also in signal processing. That's what we discussed in our last class, right? So please let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, we'll continue with our next session, that is access controls. Okay. Okay, so I assume no one has any questions. I'll move forward with the access controls. Okay, so next we'll kind of start with access controls. So we have seen what is encapsulation, right? A particular block of code, if we define anything, it defines a scope, okay, and it hides whatever the variables that are. Yeah, I told, right? Whenever when to use, Kavita is asking when to use recursive function. Yeah, I mean, whenever the occasion requires, right, you'll come to know automatically. For example, I'll tell you a simple example, okay, which I tried doing it when I was learning Java. Okay, so the requirement was like, so it was not, I mean, no one asked me to do that. Out of curiosity, I was doing it. Okay, so what was the requirement? I was supposed to create one particular folder using Java code. Okay, using Java code. When to use, you'll understand when the logic, when you understand the logic, right? That time itself, when writing the code itself, you'll be able to understand. For example, for to find the Fibonacci rate series, okay, there you can use it. Or to find the factorial of a number, there you can use it. Okay, so when you try to do that, when you try to do those things, automatically you will come to know whether to use whether this is a right candidate for using your recursive methods. Okay, recursive methods. So this is my example. What I was thinking. This was my example. Okay, so there is a particular package called Java IO. Okay, it provides you ability to kind of like create files, okay, and write or read from files or to files or bytes, all those things. Okay, so one of the main class in this particular package is file. Okay, so this file is like this particular class, you can use it for creating the directories, creating files, all those things. Okay, so to check whether a particular file is a normal file or it is a directory or whatever it is. Okay, all those things, to find out all those things. Okay, so then I started exploring on this one, and I just wanted to see how folder within a folder, folder within a folder, folder within a folder can be created along with other files. Okay, along with other files, and try to delete the entire folder structure, whatever I have created from the parent, which is the main folder. Okay, which is the main folder. So in the, remember, each folder will have files or subfolders, and inside that subfolder you will have another few more subfolders and files. Okay, like that. So you can delete a folder only or directory only when that particular folder is empty. Okay, when the particular folder is empty, then only you will be able to delete. So how do you implement this one, this particular scenario? This I have implemented using this particular recursive method. Okay, you can't try to find out every folder and delete it, and then again it directly go inside the first and do all those things. Okay, this is one example which I could kind of like tell you when I was trying to learn Java. Okay, that is what I tried, and it was successful. So you can also try when we learn Java, right? You can also try this particular scenario. Okay, so whenever you are trying to implement logic, like you'll come to know like how you can do that recursive method, when to use particular I mean when that particular logic you can becomes a candidate for recursive methods. Okay, that's what I can tell you. When to use means that's what I can tell you. Okay, so let's move on to the access controls, one of the most important topics of programming, Java programming. So we know what is encapsulation, right? So hiding data. Okay, hiding data. So how do you hide data? Just by making data private. Okay, and then providing access to the data methods. So these methods should be public because using the clients or the other code or the code from other classes or other packages or something, they will use, they can get access to this particular data only through these methods. Okay, so what does that do? We are trying to link. So you have two things, right? One in the class A. Okay, you have data part and then methods. Okay, methods will have normally what? Some piece of code which acts on this particular data. Okay, and so what we are actually doing here is we are linking this data to this piece of code to either manipulate or access or whatever it is. Okay, to manipulate, access, or change, whatever you can think of. Okay, that is what is your first point. Encapsulation, it is associated with two attributes. One is it links data, that is our instance variables, with the code that manipulates it. That is our methods, public methods. Okay, data is private. Okay, and then controls access to the members of a class. Controls access to the members of a class means which members are accessible within this particular class, the one which we are talking, which members are accessible outside of this particular class, which members are accessible only to the package within where that particular class exists. Okay, or whichever are publicly accessible, whichever members are publicly accessible. So all those things. Okay, so we use for these access controls, we use access specifiers. We have seen till now we have seen many places where we have used either public or private, right? Either public or private. These two are access specifiers. So what do we use? We use access specifiers to specify the access to a particular member. To control the access to a particular member, we use access specifiers. To control the access to a particular member, we use access specifiers. So till now we have used two things. One is private and public, and there is one more default, and one more is called protected. Okay, protected. So this we will discuss these things. Okay, I'm just giving high level thing. So public, private, protected. These three access controls are access keywords. One is public, second one is private, third one is protected, and fourth one is default, but we don't have any specific keyword for this default access. Okay, we will see each and everything. So these access controls or access specifiers applies to your inheritance part, packages, and also single particular class. Okay, inheritance, we will discuss about this particular keyword, that is protected. Protected. What is the meaning of protected with respect to inheritance? Okay, without inheritance, you can't use this protected. Okay, it does not have any meaning. Okay, then packages. So when you are talking about default access specifier, right? That is to your package level access. That we will explain. Okay, and then some applies to a single class. Like we have seen many examples, right? Private instance variables and public classes. Okay, be it your setters, getters, or any other normal method. Okay, so that is your class level access. So in inheritance we use the protected, and then in packages we use a default. I mean, I'll explain those things in detail. Okay. Let's move on to the next slide. So the next one is what are the access specifiers that are provided in Java? Excuse me. As I just mentioned, there are 4 access specifiers: 1, 2, 3, and 4. So here public, protected, and private are keywords. Access specifiers, right, Pawan? We have started it today only. Or did you join a bit late? Okay. So what Pawan is asking is, he is asking me to explain it again about the access controls. Okay. So we know what is encapsulation. You know access encapsulation, right? That is data hiding. Within any blocks, floor packets, is whatever you specify, right? That is, this specifies a scope, and out of this particular scope, whatever you defined here, you cannot access out of this. Okay, out of this. That is, I'm talking about variables. Okay, so this is one level of data hiding. So in case of class, right? In case of classes, in case of inheritance, in case of your packages and all, you might need to have more access controls. In the sense like how particular in a class will have instance variables. Sorry. You'll have instance variables and methods, right? So we know that these two are called as members of a class. Okay, these two are called as members of a class. So what access do you specify to these members of a class? What access you specify for these members of a class? That means who all or which other parts of which other code can access, which other code can access these members of a class. Members of a class. Which other code? Say whatever you specify inside a class, right? That is the code of that particular class. Okay, by default, whatever you specify in that particular code, instance variables, all those things, they will be accessible to this particular code. Okay, which is within this particular class. Assume that class A is one thing. Okay. So there may be situations where you want to expose instance variables or methods to other pieces of code. That is your other classes. Say for example, that let me take an example. That would be okay. Let us take a simple example. For example, I have class A. Okay, I have one instance variable declared. Okay, whatever it is. Okay, and then you have some method. Okay, some method. Okay, which will access, which can access this particular value and print it. I value of I. Okay, it will print. So this method has access to this particular instance variable by default. Okay, because the code is specified in the code. I mean everything exists in this class A, right? So now assume that I have so many other classes. Say class A, class B, okay, class C, class D. Okay, so now I want to provide some so I want to access this particular instance variable. Forget about how we provide access to this data. I don't want to mention anything like I made this as private or something like that. Okay, we will provide some access to or if at all we provide some access to all these things. Okay, the members here are integer I and a method. These two are members of your class A. Okay, these two are members of your class A. So the question now arises is, out of this class B, class C, and class D, who all has or who all have access to these members of class A? Whether the question is whether they are exposed so that other classes can access these members or not. Okay, that is what is defined using your access controls. Means you are specifying who all can access these members of a class. Who all can access the members of a class? That is, you are controlling the access to members of a class. Controlling the access to members of a class. So how do you do that? Using access specifiers. Access specifiers. We have seen, till now we have seen public and private, and some places I think we have used default also. We have used default also. Okay. So what are access specifiers? Why do we use access specifiers? To control the access, to control the why do we use access specifiers? To control the access. Let me write it. Why do we use? To control access, to control the access to control the access to members of a class. Control the access. Who all can access those members? So to control the access from whom? That is the question, right? From whom? Any code that is outside of this particular class, class A. If we have taken class A as example, right? Any code that is outside of class A. So we know that in Java, any code, if you want to write a single piece of code, that has to be within your class. Okay, and whatever the logic that you want to put, that will be inside your methods. Whatever the actions that you want to take, that will be inside your methods, right? So any code that is any code outside of this particular class, that is any other class. Okay, any other class, who all classes can access these members of any particular class for that matter. Okay, so that is the question. So who all can access the members of a class? Okay, members of a class. So that is controlled. That is, we are trying to control. We are trying to control what? We are trying to control the access. Trying to control the access to members. Members of a specific class. So that is done, as I mentioned, through access specifiers. Okay. public and private we have seen. Public and private we have seen. Others are default and protected. Okay. So did you get it, Pawan? Is it fine now for you? If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, we'll continue. So hold on for a couple of minutes. Looks like the controls, go to training controls are again freezing. It's not responding. Just let's wait for a few minutes till it comes back. Okay. So till that time, we will continue discussing this particular part. That is so Java. What are the access specifiers provided by Java? Can you all see Java's access specifiers screen? Let me see whether you all can respond to my question. I hope all of you can hear me. Hello, can you all hear me? Now I don't have any control to go to training. So I'm not able to, unmute you to hear your response. I try to ping in the chat, okay? Your response, try to put your response in the chat. That is also not moving. It is stuck actually. I'm not sure how to give us a few more minutes, okay? So if it is coming up, then otherwise we'll try to log out and log in again, okay? Okay, let us log out and log in again. Sorry for the inconvenience again. If it happens again, let's see. Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks.